Hello everyone, welcome back. This is our lecture 1, class 9th, subject English. In this lecture, we are going to discuss poem 5 of Beehive, that is A Legend of the Northland. So, now we will discuss this poem, A Legend of the Northland, written by Phoebe Cary. Let's start with the introduction of the poetess of this poem, who is Phoebe Cary. Alice and Phoebe Cary were sisters. Both became well-known American poets during the middle of the 19th century. Phoebe was born on 4th September 1824. The Cary family earned its living through farming. Their mother encouraged Alice and Phoebe to practice their writing. 11 years later, Alice and Phoebe jointly authored poems of Alice and Phoebe Cary. The work received positive reviews and the two women moved to New York City. Edgar Allan Poe, a leading American author, poet, and literary critic, was an admirer of both women's work. Alice and Phoebe Cary spent the 1850s and the 1860s in New York. Later in life, Phoebe Cary died on 31st July 1871. So this was about the poetess of this poem, Phoebe Cary. Now let's have a look on the action of the poem. A Legend of the Northland is a ballad. Now what is ballad? A ballad is a poem narrating a story in short stanzas. That means this poem is actually a story which is converted into paragraphs using short stanzas. Ballad is such kind of poem which tells a story in short stanzas, and in the poem all the stanzas comprise 4 lines. In total there are 16 stanzas in this poem, and these stanzas will tell us a story. Ballads are a part of folk culture or popular culture and are passed on orally from one generation to the next. That means they also represent some kind of culture which is eventually passed on from one generation to the other. So in this poem we will discuss 16 stanzas comprising 4 lines each that will reveal a story. Folk culture is a story of any area and is known as ballad. Folk culture comprises of traditional stories which are passed on from one generation to next generation. This story is of the Northland area, the area which is near the North Pole. This exact place is not specified, but Northland means the area in the northernmost part of the earth, that is near the North Pole. Legend means a historical story, one which is very old and has been passed on from one generation to generation. So this was about the introduction of the poem. Now let's discuss each passage. Stanza 1. Away, away in the Northland, where the hours of the day are few and the nights are so long in winter that they cannot sleep them through. This stanza reveals that the story has been set in the region around the North Pole, and the duration of the day is very less because its position is such that the sun's rays reach for a very less time. The days are short and nights are long in winter. It is so cold that people cannot sleep comfortably the whole night, and often wake up. As the nights are very long, they are also not able to sleep the entire night. They refers to the people who live in this region. And here the poet wants to emphasize the fact that the duration of the night is very long in the region near North Pole. Stanza 2. Where they harness the swift reindeer to the sledges when it snows, and the children look like bear's cubs in their funny furry clothes. The Northland region experiences severe cold conditions. It is a snowy area, right? And sledges used to carry things from one place to another when it snows, right? Then reindeers pull the sledges and people tie the reindeers to sledges to carry the people or to carry the things. He often adds that the children look like young ones of a bear because they wear funny looking clothes made of fur which is like the furry skin of a bear. Stanza 3. They tell them a curious story. I do not believe this true, and yet you may learn a lesson if I tell the tale to you. They means people of that particular region used to narrate a story to their generations after generation, and the poetess is saying, I do not believe that this is true, but after reading the story, one will definitely learn a lesson, right? And the poet does not think that the story is true, but it should be told because it teaches children an important lesson. Stanza 4. Once when the good Saint Peter lived in the world below and walked about it preaching just as he did, you know. So the story is about Saint Peter when Saint Peter used to live in the world and went around preaching. Preaching means went around giving religious lectures to the people just like all saints do. Then an incident happened. Then when Saint Peter used to narrate tales and stories of religious beliefs to people, then one incident happened. Stanza 5. Now let's see what was that incident. He came to the door of a cottage in travelling round the earth, where a little woman was making cakes and baking them on the hearth. That means when he was moving door to door. He came to a woman's house in the Northland just when she was baking cakes in her fireplace for herself. Saint Peter, hearth means on the fireplace when she was baking the cakes. Then that time Saint Peter came to the door of that woman, and the woman was in a cottage. So hearth, you can see hearth, the fireplace, and using that fireplace, on that fireplace the woman was baking the cakes. Stanza 6. And being faint with fasting, for the day was almost done, he asked her from her store of cakes to give him a single one. Faint means he was feeling weak, like he was about to collapse. As Saint Peter had not eaten anything the entire day, he was very hungry and was feeling weak. So he went to this woman who was baking cakes and he asked for a piece of cake out of the many cakes that she had baked. That means she had baked n number of cakes, and Saint Peter, who was a saint, who was giving religious preachings door to door, asked for a single piece of cake from her store of cakes to sustain himself so that he could move further from door to door. Now let's see what happened. Stanza 7. So she made a very little cake, but as it baking lay, she looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. Now, when Saint Peter asked her for a piece of cake, then she did not give it from her store of cakes which she had actually baked, but what she did was she took a dough and made a very little cake, thin cake. But when she was about to give it to Saint Peter, a thought came to her mind that it was really too large to give away. That means she was becoming greedy. She was a greedy woman. Stanza 8. Therefore she needed another, as she thought that it is really too large to give it to someone. So she immediately kept it aside and taken another dough in a less quantity than the previous one, and still a smaller one, but it looked, when she turned it over, as large as the first had done. So the woman baked a very little cake, but before she could give it to Saint Peter, she started thinking that it was too big to just be given away like that. So the woman went on to make an even smaller cake, but this also looked as big as the first one to her. Stanza 9. Then she took a tiny scrap of dough and rolled it flat and baked it thin as a wafer, but she could not part with that. That means third time she took a tiny scrap of dough. That means third attempt she tried to make a cake so small that she would not mind giving it away. She took an extremely small amount of dough, small lump of dough, and when she rolled out the dough, her cake was as flat and thin as a wafer. However, she could not even bear to give that small cake away. She could not part with that. That means she could not bear, she could not tolerate to give that thin cake to Saint Peter. Stanza 10. For she said, my cakes that seem too small when I eat of them myself are yet too large to give away. So she put them on the shelf. So she said, the cakes that seemed small when she herself ate them, they all were too big to be donated for free. As a result, she ended up keeping all the cakes on the shelf and not giving any to Saint Peter. That means, and she denied to give any cake to Saint Peter, who was preaching, who was a saint, though she did not know actually who was he, but still the main thing is that she could not give a single piece of cake to a person who is feeling weak, who is feeling like to faint. Stanza 11. Then good Saint Peter grew angry, for he was hungry and faint, and surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. Obviously, when a saint has been preaching for a day long, door to door, and when he saw a greedy woman like this who cannot even give a single piece of thin cake to anyone who is feeling so hungry, who is even asking her to give the cake, then such a selfish woman was enough, her deeds were enough to provoke a saint, to make a saint grew angry. Stanza 12. And he said, you are far too selfish to dwell in a human form, to live in a human form, to have both food and water, to have both food and shelter and fire to keep you warm. Saint Peter, then what happened? Saint Peter grew angry and he cursed the woman and said that she was very selfish. She did not deserve to live like a human being, because human beings are born with feelings. At least they can give something to someone who is in more need than them. He added that God had given her food, shelter, fire to keep warm, but she had become selfish for all the resources she had. She did not want to share them with anybody. Stanza 13. Now you shall build as the birds do, and shall get your scanty food, for boring and boring and boring all day in the hard, dry wood. So, when Saint Peter grew angry on the act of such a selfish woman, he cursed her, and he said that she would have to build her own nest like birds do, and must dig holes into hard, dry wood to get food to feed herself. The woman, so ultimately what happened, Saint Peter cursed the woman that as the birds used to bore, used to make holes in the hard dry wood to build their nest, to earn their living, similarly you should do that. Stanza 14. Then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to a bird. As soon as Saint Peter cursed the woman, she did not get a chance to speak for herself, because that very moment when she was cursed, she flew up to the roof through the chimney and flew out in the form of a bird. Saint Peter cursed and had converted the woman into a bird, as she had become so selfish that she did not deserve to live in a human form. So she was immediately converted to a bird, and after being converted, now she had to bore, she had to make holes herself in order to build her own nest. Stanza 15. She had a scarlet cap on her head, and that was left the same, but all the rest of her clothes were burned black as a coal in the flame. As the woman had been wearing a red cap when she was baking the cakes, she was wearing a red cap, a scarlet cap, a red cap in a human form. As a woodpecker, her head was still the same shade of red in color. However, all the clothes she had been wearing seemed to have been burnt and had become black, and that is what the color of the woodpecker's body was. That means all the clothes had been burned, turned into black color, and she was turned into a woodpecker with a scarlet cap with a red cap on her head. Stanza 16, last stanza. And every country school boy has seen her in the wood where she lives in the trees till this every day, very day, boring and boring for food. Now, people who live in the countryside, even the small children who go to school, see this kind of bird in the woods. They used to see such kind of birds in the woods. They see that she stays there all day and keeps on digging the wood with her beak to collect her food. Whenever any child sees this kind of bird, then his elders tell him this story. They say that the bird used to be a woman earlier. She was very greedy, and so she was cursed by Saint Peter and was turned into a bird. They get a teaching that they should not be greedy. So this was the story of a woman, of a selfish, greedy woman, and this story is generally narrated to every country school boy by their elders to teach them a lesson that they should not be greedy. Now let's see new words. Swift, something which runs very fast. Curious, strange. Saint Peter, an apostle of Christ, a disciple or follower of Jesus Christ. Preaching, to give a religious talk. Hearth, fireplace where you do cooking. Faint, to be weak. Kneaded, to make dough from flour. Scrap, small amount. Provoke, cause to get angry. Dwell, to live. Scanty, very little. Boring, make a hole in something with a tool or by digging. Scarlet, brilliant, shining, red color. So they were the new words which have been used in this poem. Now let's discuss the poetic devices used in the poem. First is repetition. Repetition, any word or sentence that is repeated to lay emphasis on it. Stanza 1, away word is repeated. Stanza 9, rolled word is repeated. Stanza 13 and 16, boring word is repeated. Next we have alliteration. Alliteration, repetition of any consonant sound. Stanza 1, the sound. Stanza 2, again the sound. Then look like, I sound, F sound in funny and furry. Stanza 3, the sound, and yet you, Y sound. Learn lesson, L sound. Tell, tail, to, T sound is repeating. Stanza 5, woman, was, were, that is W sound. Them, the, hearth, TH sound. Stanza 6, faint, fasting, F sound. Stanza 8, still, smaller, S sound. Stanza 9, took, tiny, T sound. Stanza 10, seem, small, S sound. Stanza 13, build, birds, B sound. Boring, by, again B sound is repeating. That is alliteration. Next is enjambment. Enjambment means running lines of poetry from one to the next without using any kind of punctuation to indicate a stop. That means no punctuation mark, no comma, no full stop is used while switching from one line to another line. Like line 3 and 4, stanza 2, line 1, 2, 3 and 4, then stanza 3, line 3 and 4, stanza 4, line 1 and 2, 3 and 4, stanza 10, line 1, 2 and 3, stanza 11, line 1 and 2. Last poetic device we have is simile. Simile, comparison, using when we compare two things using as or like. Stanza 2. The children look like bear's cubs. Children compared to bear's cubs. Stanza 9. Baked it thin as a wafer. Cake is compared to a wafer. Stanza 15. Clothes were burnt black as a coal. The color of the burnt clothes is compared to that of coal. So, simile is used. Now your homework is that you have to read the poem carefully and do the textual questions in your practice notebook first, then match your answers and then copy them in your fair notebook. Go through the poem carefully, the discussion, the explanation of the poem, then poetic devices and new words, and then solve or find out the answers of the textual questions in your practice notebook.